3.
Hi, Jim Martin with the Charleston Parks Conservancy, and today we're out at Allen Park and we're looking at some of the winter damage that occurred a few weeks ago when it got down to about 28, 29 degrees. And typically here in the south, what we find is we grow a variety of different types of plants, some that are temperate, which don't really care much about what the cold does, but the semi-tropical tropicals, they're a little bit different. And so what we're seeing now is the aftermath of that cold weather. And what we need to realize is that it's January, and we usually have some colder weather that will still occur within the months of January and February. So today we're going to look at a few of these and talk about why I would want to cut them back and how much to cut back. And I think that's one of the most important things to remember about what we're going to talk about today is how much to cut back or not cut back. So let's take a look at our first plant here. And it's obvious that this plant is not exactly happy. Okay, this is the Asian crinum, Crinum asiaticum. And what we see is parts of this plant are sort of brownish. There's some yellowing. The one thing about the Asiatic crinum to think about though is this over time creates a stem. So it's a trunk. And with that trunk, we have to be really careful to not take too much of that trunk down for several different reasons. Number one, this takes a long time to grow. It's a slow grower. And number two, wherever you decide to make your cut, if we have cold weather that comes in, it's going to freeze from that point down. So the more you cut out, the closer to the ground it gets when it freezes, which could be the chance that it freezes to the ground or to the root system, which will then kill the plant. So we want to be real careful about how much we take off. So today, we're going to look at what I would actually take off of this plant. And at this point in early January, I'm going to go ahead and only cut the foliage that's really bothering me, that may be brown or a little bit yellow, but I'm not going to cut into the trunk. So here we go. Oh, and that reminds me, one of my favorite tools to use for this kind of work is my serrated knife. And yes, I have my pruners, and you can use pruners, but everybody sort of has this serrated knife in their kitchen, and it's a perfect tool for this kind of work. It just cuts through the foliage like it's butter. So we're just going to go in, we're going to cut that back, and what we're going to do is only cut it back. And you can see this is where the new foliage wasn't affected or just didn't get killed back because it didn't get that cold. So I'm not going to cut any lower than that because I don't want to see it dying back even further. And here's a good one right over here. We're going to move to this one right here. You see this? This is the trunk I was talking about on the Crinum asiaticum. So if I cut anything, I'm just going to go ahead and trim this up, make it a little bit pretty. And I'm going to wait to do my final cuts, usually until sometime at the end of February. So before you go ahead and start going in your garden and chopping everything back, think a little bit about, remember, we're going to have some more cold weather. You want to make sure you cut only what you absolutely have to make it look good for you. Don't cut any more.